November 1970. The Isdal Valley, Norway. Locals call it the Ice Valley, a remote and unforgiving place. Two hikers, a father and his young daughters, are out exploring when a strange, acrid smell cuts through the cold air. They follow it to a clearing and find a scene of total erasure. A woman's body, charred beyond recognition, lies among scattered bottles of petrol and a handful of sleeping pills. Every single label on her expensive clothes has been meticulously cut away. Her fingerprints are burned off. She has no face, no name, and no past. This was not just a death. It was a deliberate, methodical attempt to delete a human being from history. She would become known only as the Isdal Woman, and her case is a perfect, chilling puzzle from the darkest days of the Cold War. The discovery immediately baffled Norwegian police. This was not a typical crime scene. The woman was found on her back, in a boxer's pose, a grin detail indicating she was burned alive or very shortly after death. An autopsy would later reveal a fatal combination of barbiturates and carbon monoxide poisoning. She had ingested over 50 sleeping pills, but the fire, not the pills, was the immediate cause of death. The official ruling was suicide, but the investigators on the ground felt a deep sense of unease. Why would someone go to such extreme lengths to hide their identity, only to kill themselves in such a public, albeit remote, location? The first real break came a few days later. 2 suitcases belonging to the woman were found at a luggage locker in the Bergen railway station. Inside, the mystery only deepened. Police found a collection of wigs, non-prescription glasses, several changes of expensive, fashionable clothes, all with their labels snipped out. They also found different currencies, but no passport. What they did find, however, was a shopping bag from a specific shoe store in the city of Stavanger. The owner of the shop remembered her well. He described an elegant, attractive woman who spoke English with a foreign accent and spent a long time choosing a pair of blue rubber boots, the same kind found near her body. This lead was a dam breaker. Using the shoe store owner's description, police traced the woman's movements. She had checked into multiple hotels across Norway, in Oslo, Bergen, Trondheim, and Stavanger under a series of different names: Fenella Lork, Claudia Tielt, Vera Jarl, Elizabeth Lienhauer, Alexia Zarna Mershes, Genevieve Lancier. The list went on. Police eventually uncovered 8 separate false passports. She was a ghost, flitting between cities, always paying in cash and rarely speaking to anyone. The most tantalizing clue was a small, coded notebook found in her luggage. The pages were filled with series of letters and numbers: M24M28S, 022-028P, 8L2-81113. For decades, these codes were indecipherable, but investigators eventually cracked it. It wasn't a complex spy cipher. It was a simple travel diary. The letter and number combinations corresponded to the dates and cities she had visited. M24, for example, meant she was in Madrid on the 24th of the month. 022 meant she was in Oslo on the 22nd. She had been on a frantic tour of Europe, from Paris to Rome to Bergen, just before her death. This wasn't the journal of a tourist. It was the meticulous log of an operative. So who was this woman? 4 main theories have circled her case for over 50 years. The first is the official conclusion: the suicidal tourist. This theory suggests she was a mentally troubled individual who, for personal reasons, decided to end her life in a dramatic and anonymous way. But this explanation feels thin. The sheer effort involved the multiple passports, the removed labels, the codes. The international travel seems far too complex and professional for a simple act of desperation. Plus, the Isdal Valley, while remote, was near sensitive Norwegian military installations during the Cold War. A very strange choice for a final resting place. This leads us to the second and most popular theory, the Cold War spy. In this scenario, the Isdal Woman was what is known as an illegal and intelligence agent operating under a deep, non-official cover. Her profile is a perfect fit. She was multilingual, traveled only with cash, and practiced flawless tradecraft like using wigs, changing her appearance, and removing all identifying marks from her possessions. The 1960s and 70s were the height of Cold War tensions, and Norway, as a NATO member sharing a border with the Soviet Union, was a hotbed of espionage. The Isdal Valley was close to where Norway was testing new components for its Penguin anti-ship missiles and conducting acoustic surveillance of Soviet submarines. It's plausible she was an agent, perhaps for the KGB or another Eastern Bloc agency, who was either compromised and eliminated by her own side or captured and killed by a rival agency. The third theory paints her as a victim of organized crime. Perhaps she was a courier for a smuggling ring, a money mule moving illicit cash across borders. Her professional methods for maintaining anonymity would certainly be useful in the criminal underworld. In this version of events, she might have stolen from her employers, or simply knew too much, and was silenced in a way that would send a message while leaving no trace back to the organization. The almost surgical removal of her identity fits the enigma of a professional criminal cleanup. The final theory is a more tragic, personal one, a willful disappearance gone wrong. Imagine someone desperate to escape a dangerous past, an abusive partner, a criminal family, a secret she couldn't bear. She uses her considerable skills to craft a new life, to vanish completely, but her past catches up to her. Someone she was running from finds her in Norway and kills her, ensuring her old identity and their connection to it dies with her. It's a plausible, heartbreaking scenario that accounts for both her desire for anonymity and the violent end she met. For decades, the case went cold. The Isdal Woman was buried in an unmarked grave, her secrets seemingly buried with her. But in 2016, Norwegian investigators, armed with new technology, decided to reopen the book. They exhumed her body. Isotope analysis, a technique that can reveal where a person lived based on the chemical signatures in their teeth and bones, provided the first real clue to her origins in half a century. The tests suggested she was born around 1930 and spent her childhood in or near Nuremberg, Germany. During her adolescence, likely during World War II, she moved further west, possibly to the region near the French-German border. She was a child of wartime Europe. Using this new data, a forensic artist created a stunning new facial reconstruction, finally giving a face to the ghost. The hope is that someone somewhere will recognize the face of a long-lost sister, friend, or neighbor. The Isdal Woman is so much more than a cold case. She is a human mirror reflecting the paranoia and shadow play of the Cold War, a world where people were weapons, identities were costumes, and death could be a silent, bureaucratic cleanup. The professional hands that erased her did their job so well that they created a perfect enigma, a permanent question mark in the history of espionage. We may never know her name, But her story forces us to confront a time when a person could simply be deleted. What do you think happened in the Ice Valley? Was she a spy, a criminal, or just a lost soul? Share your theory in the comments below. And if you want to explore more of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.